And a fine howdy do to you folks. How's everybody doing today? Welcome back to the life of a virtual airline pilot with me, Captain Mac. And we left off last time, you may remember, we left off in Tucson. And that's not actually where we're at now. And you're probably thinking to yourself, what? Okay, we did a flight from Tucson down to Nogales. And I recorded it. And it was a disaster. The recording was horrible. The flight was horrible. It's a little 42-mile flight, and I managed to absolutely botch the approach so bad, in fact, that I'm a little embarrassed by it. I'm not even sure I want to post it. So it's not up there right now. At this moment, as I'm recording this video, I haven't even compiled it into a complete video. It's just clips sitting together. So not sure if I'm ever going to post that. I'll make that decision at some point. If I don't, then guess what? We're in Nogales now, and we're getting ready for our next flight, and that flight will disappear into infamy, hopefully. If you guys really, really, really want to see it, I guess if I get enough requests down in the comments to see this ridiculously silly flight that I made enough mistakes on to probably lose a pilot's license in the real world. If you really want to see that, I get enough requests for it down in the comments. I suppose I'll put it up here as like the lost flight, the lost episode or something. But in the interim, here we are. We are actually down in Nogales now. We're going to start from there, and so we're going to start as though we just kind of always been there. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. So that being said, this is going to be our first flight in a new aircraft, actually. It's going to be a new aircraft. I'm really excited about this. So let's take a quick look here. So because we have that flight down in Nogales, we have a total of 6 flights now, 6.5 hours. And that leaves us 13.5, but round up 14 hours until we get our promotion. That's what we're looking for. So let's go ahead and take a look at our next flight here. It's going to be AmeriFlight 2923 from Nogales to Phoenix. We'll click on that. There she is. And this is a Beach Light aircraft. Beach Light aircraft. You know, we've been flying that Beach 1900 for a little while now, and it's been a good time. I really like that airplane. And it can be interchanged. Beach Light aircraft and Beach 1900 can be interchanged. And let me show you what I'm talking about right here. I'm going to open this and show you the aircraft substitution chart. If you look at Beechcraft right here, okay, we scroll across. That's the Beach 1900, and that's the Beach Light aircraft. Okay, they can be substituted for each other. And I briefly went over this aircraft substitution chart in a previous video, but just a quick reminder, any aircraft in a row can be substituted for any aircraft in that row. So for example, an easier one to understand would be the Boeing 737. If you have a flight that's in a Boeing 737-500, which would be a 735, you can fly a 737-900, which is a 739. All of these can be substituted for any one of them. So when our flight calls for a Beach 1900, we can substitute a Beach Light aircraft. What's a Beach Light aircraft? It's any Beechcraft that's a light aircraft, and technically a Beach 1900 is a light aircraft too. So the KingAir 200 that we're going to be flying today, that's a Beach Light aircraft. Okay, hopefully there aren't any more questions on that. I doubt there were any in the first place. Pretty simple, right? Pretty straightforward. So hopefully this thing will load here real quick so that it doesn't take too long. I might have to edit this long, ridiculous loading portion out. That's sort of why I'm being quiet. In case I edit it out, it won't sound so weird. Okay, here we are. Now, we still got to hop over here. We're going to finish taking a look at the flight right now. It is Nogales up to Phoenix. Looks like it's just about an hour flight time, total 134 miles, which I'm actually really thrilled about because that's going to give us a little bit of time to really get to know this KingAir. And let me tell you, this thing's awesome. You guys are going to love this thing. Don't care about the weather. We're going to use Active Sky 2012 as always. Don't need a chart for Phoenix. And that's it. We're good to go. Anybody got any questions about this? Good, because I can't hear you anyway. And if you do have questions, you're going to have to put them down in the comments. All right, guys? So let's go ahead and hop from here. We'll go over to our ACARS, get everything set up real quick over there, and then we'll kick this flight off. So I'll see you in a minute. Okay, let's take a quick look at the ACARS here. Once we have our ACARS open up, we log into it, and then we go ahead and we hop on over here and get bid, and that's going to grab the next bid in our already bidded on flights. Vice the get flight option. If you're curious about how that works, check out my ACARS tutorial video. It says there was a problem while attempting to retrieve V cargo list. I'm not going to explain V cargo right now, but just understand that it's not a problem for our flight. It's not a problem anytime it ever says that. It's not going to be an issue. I will be explaining V cargo at some point. We're not going to get into it right now. Not on these short little hops like these. We will get into it eventually. Just know that this isn't going to cause an issue for us. So we'll just acknowledge that. Take a quick look here. It says it's a 50-minute flight. We're going to be late. We're always late. We've been late on every flight so far. We're probably going to keep being late, and I'm just going to accept that. So let's take a quick look here at previous routes, see if there's anything worth throwing on there. Yeah, there's a couple. The RV is a waypoint between Tucson and Nogales, and then TUS is a Tucson VOR. Those are just 2 waypoints that are out there. We're just grabbing those real quick. It is 135 miles essentially, so that gives us a little room to get up in the air. We're sort of flying on the west side of the compass, so it's going to be an even 1,000. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, no, it's an even 1,000. I had a different thought. My brain was going one way, my mouth was trying to go another, and yeah, don't judge me. So let's just take it on up to, let's see, 130. Yeah, we can get up. Let's take it up. Let's take it up to 18,000 even. That sounds good to me. That'll be fun. 18,000. We'll see if we can get all the way up there on this short flight. And that's it. Last thing, I always just like to make sure that the departure airport and our current location are the same, which they are, so we don't lose any hours. So we are ready to rock and roll. Once we have our sim all set up, we can push start flight, and ACARS will start tracking the flight for us. So I will see you guys in the sim here shortly. Now let's be clear about something up front. It would be an absolute shame to hop into this airplane without taking just a minute to admire the absolutely beautiful lines on this thing. There is something about a KingAir, whether it be the C90 or the 200, 350, I love the way these airplanes look. Whether they're in the air with the gear up or on the ground with the wheels down, these things look freaking awesome. Now, if you disagree with me, go ahead, throw something down in the comments. You tell me an airplane that you think, as far as a small airplane, because there's some big airplanes that are pretty cool. And we're not talking about fighter planes here now. You can't include fighter planes. That's cheating. You tell me an airplane that can be used for general aviation purposes that you think is nicer, has cleaner, slicker looking lines than a KingAir. And then show me a cool picture. All right, I harped on that long enough. I do want to say, beautiful model done by Flight One Software here, and they have simulated just about everything in this aircraft, and I love this thing. This thing is fantastic. Beautiful airplane. Love it very much. Wish I could fly one in the real world. Can't. Not right now anyway. Maybe the day will come. I'm stuck in the Cessnas for now. I'm going to deal with that. But in this sim, in our world here as a virtual airline pilot, we are going to get to fly this thing today, and we're going to hop in here and let's just get this started right here. As you can see, it's all glass. G1000, Garmin G1000, beautiful setup here. I already moved the yoke out of the way on that side. We'll move it out of the way on that side. And the startup procedure is not too long. It's almost identical actually to the Beech 1900. So you guys are going to be familiar with it. But I want to jump right into it so we don't take too long, because I know some of my videos do get a little long. I'm a long-winded guy and I love this airplane. Was that pedantic enough for you? Okay, so as I said, we're going to jump right in here. Let's hop on over to the center console here. We'll take care of a couple things. Now, it does say the elevator trim is supposed to be set at 0. That's this guy right here. However, I'm going to go ahead and trim it up right now because I like to trim it up early. And I know for the weight we're at, we're going to need to be right about there. That's what we're going to go with. If I'm wrong, it happens. Cabin doors closed and locked. We've loaded baggage and secured the aircraft. Weight and center of gravity's been checked. Brakes. I can't. There's that no talking thing, or that talking issue again. Brakes are set. I like to leave this on. I know there's a little modification you can put in your config file. I do that a lot. Little modification you can put in your config file that allows you to hide those. I like them to show up. I know it can be a little obnoxious, but it lets me know my parking brakes are on. And let's see what else. Landing gear handle switch is down. That's this guy right here, and it is. Power levers are to idle. That's these right here. Propeller controls are full forward. Let's move those full forward. There we go. Condition levers are at fuel cutoff. Those are both right here, and they are. Cabin signs need to be to FSB and no smoking. FSB means fasten seatbelts, in case anybody's wondering. That's that one right there. And the cabin temperature mode, this guy over here needs to be off. Find a little sign there. Vent blowers need to be to auto, which is all the way down. Excuse me one sec. Yeah, I'm going to leave that in the video. It's all the way down. They are there. Aft blowers need to be off. Aft blowers are this one right here. Down is off. They are off. Electric heat needs to be off. That's right next to it. We're good to go there. Oxygen supply pressure check. In case you're wondering where that is this guy right here, and there is plenty of pressure in there, so we're good to go. It says oxygen supply control handle pull on system ready. The only thing I'm really not sure about this. I think it's talking about this one, but I swear that this is like the air conditioning, to be honest with you. So for now, that's what I'm doing for this checklist item. But if you know what the oxygen supply control handle is and where it's located, please let me know down in the comments, because the manual on this doesn't really specify that, or I overlooked it. And that'll happen sometimes. All right, we're going to hop over to the other side of the aircraft here. The fuel firewall valves need to be closed. That's these right here, fuel firewall shutoff valve. That is open, that is closed. We need to close those. And then we're going to flip on our standby pumps and listen for operation. When we flip on this one, we'll hear it, and then the sound will change when we have the other one running. So listen to this. There you go. Boy, that must be really quiet, huh? Yeah, you can barely hear it. It might be because I had the volume turned down just a little bit. I did that because some of the videos, for some reason, if I turn up my volume on my computer, it seems to drown out my voice when the engines are running, and I'm trying to find a balance there. So I apologize if the sound effects on the aircraft are a little quiet on this video. I won't know until I'm done. But at this point, we're going to go ahead and we're going to... I'm sorry, those switches need to stay on. Okay, they're on. We're going to flip on the battery switch. And the fuel firewall valves at this point, I'm sorry, we want to check real quick. We want to check our annunciators up here, and our low fuel pressure lights should be on. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to open the firewall valves, and that should extinguish those lights, and it sure did, so we're good to go there. And then we're going to turn off the standby pumps, and that will turn those annunciators back on. And this is just, they're back on. This is just making sure that the systems are working properly. And the crossfeed, we're going to flip it left and right, and alternatively it will turn those lights off when we do the crossfeed. So if we flip left, lights go off. I don't know why I keep getting that little chop there. Put it back to the center, lights are on, and if we go to the right, lights are back off. We're good to go. Okay, crossfeed is off now. Auxiliary transfer switches, these two here, are both supposed to be on auto, and they are. And then the no transfer light, which is these two, we're going to test these. You just push them, just click them to push them and test them, and they're both working just fine. Fuel quantity, we want to check the main and the auxiliary. I'm going to tell you we got plenty of fuel for this flight. I put in some extra just in case I have issues with my approach, like I did on the Elusive episode 6. So we've got plenty of fuel in the main tanks there. We've got 900 pounds of tank, 1,800 total, just a little over that. And then the auxiliaries should both be empty. And they are, and that's where we want them to be. Now we're going to hop up top real quick here and check our DC volt load meters. 1 and 2. And that's it. All we're doing is make sure that those have a load on them. Okay, where are we at here? We're going to hop back over to first officer side. I think the flow is a little weird on this. Kind of hop back and forth between the captain's side and the first officer's side, but this aircraft can be flown by a single pilot, so I guess it doesn't really matter. But we're going to do the stall warning test next. Yep, it's still annoying, so it must be working. Fire detectors and fire extinguishers. It says to test these. Now, this is one of those things that I think I really kind of messed up in that last video. If we hop up here, turn those off, they're annoying. Here's our fire extinguishers. It says push to extinguish. So if we have a fire obviously in the left engine or the right engine, but I'm not sure how to test them. And I've looked around, you know, in the 1900 there's some test switches down here. I didn't see any on here, and you know, when I pushed these, because I thought maybe you push the green button there to test it, it sounds like it's discharging the fire extinguishers, and then this little light lights up which tells me it's discharged. So I'm not going to do anything with those right now. It's a sim, so I know they work. Annunciator lights, this is one I've had a problem with in the past, isn't it? There's our annunciator lights. They are all working. We could go so far as to go down here, and it lights up all of these down at the bottom as well. So there they are, good to go. We're right as rain. Our database is good. I double checked that. We do want to turn on the rotating beacon. That's this guy right here, because we have power on the aircraft now, and in accordance with federal aviation regulations here in the United States, as soon as you put power on the aircraft, you're supposed to flip the beacon on. So technically I think that should be higher on the checklist, because that's where it's supposed to be. I know when I fly, the aircraft I fly in that I rent, the beacon's always just left on, so when you turn the battery off, it shuts the beacon off. When you flip the battery on, it turns the beacon on. Okay, that's our entire before start checklist. We are ready to start engines 1 and 2, or 2 and 1, depending on which order you want to call them in. So we're going to start with the right engine. And the procedure is, like I said before, pretty much identical to the start procedure for the Beech 1900. We do have one difference. In the Beech 1900, we can flip on this auto ignition switch, and then we can flip on the switch, the engine ignition and start switch. In this aircraft, if you flip the auto ignition on and then flip this switch, it doesn't do anything. I'm not sure why that is. I don't know if that's a default of the real world aircraft, or if that is something that just got put into this sim. I don't know. If you know, if you're a KingAir pilot, I have a friend who's actually a KingAir pilot. I'll have to ask him next time I talk to him, but that's alright. We're going to go ahead, we're going to flip this switch. Guess what? We're going to be monitoring our N1, which is our turbine percentage here. Guess what we're looking for? Same thing, 12%. When that hits 12%, we're going to low idle on the fuel. Oh wow, there goes my brain again. On the fuel condition lever. Thank you very much. We'll go to low idle on that, and that'll fire the engine. We'll start monitoring our instruments, but once that goes past, you guessed it, 50%, we're going to flip that engine start switch off. Then we'll start monitoring our oil pressure and our oil temperature, which are these two right here. And then we'll reset the right generator and then turn it on, and then we'll go to the left engine. Same procedure. So, you guys are familiar with this? Let's go ahead and kick it off. Looking for 12% over here. It goes up much faster on this one, and it'll keep going past 12%, so you don't want to wait too long. We don't want a hot start. There she is spinning up already. We're getting close to 50%. Temperature didn't go too high. We're already beyond 50%. You see how fast that goes. Just take a glance at that temperature. Make sure it doesn't climb up to that red line. It has not, so we're good to go there. Torque's coming back down where it should be, and our oil temperature and oil pressure are both in the green. So at this point, I like to flip on that auto switch so that I don't forget to do it later, because for some reason I keep missing it. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to reset by clicking all the way up on the right gen, and it flips itself back down to the on position. At this point, it says we're supposed to charge the battery until the load meter reads approximately 0.50 and then turn it off. Well, it looks to me like it's reading 0.50. I'm assuming that's the load meter it's talking about, but I'm not positive. It could be this load meter here. This is the right load meter. So that would be 0.50. So at this point, if that's the case, then what we actually want to do is we want to turn that right generator off and then go through the start procedure for the left engine, which is identical with one exception. We still need to move this condition lever up to high idle. There we go. See, I almost forgot that. If you noticed, good on you. Okay, so let's go ahead and shut that generator off, and left ignition start switch comes on. Watching for that 12%. Gets there pretty quick. We don't want to wait too long so we don't get a hot start. I believe that's what causes a hot start. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. Leave something down in the comments. It's past 50% already, so we can go ahead and, if I can find the switch there. There we go. Turn that off. Flip that one on. We're good to go there, and now we're monitoring again. Looking at our temperature. Torque is just fine. Checking the RPMs, and of course we want to make sure our oil pressure and oil temperature are good to go, and they are. So at this point, the left condition lever stays at low idle. right generator gets reset and then on again. So all the way up, it'll flip itself to on. And same thing for the left generator at this point, all the way up, it'll flip itself to on, and then we're going to reduce the right condition lever to low idle. And that's it. Engine start is complete. So, real quick, I'm going to go through the after engine start checklist, which is also the before taxi checklist. And then we'll take care of our flight plan because it's a little different with this Garmin 1000. We do have a flight plan in there, but I'll explain it here in just a minute. So real quick, we want to check our DC voltage and load meters. So we'll hop up here. Yep, getting plenty in there. Good to go. Avionics master switch needs to come on at this point. This guy right here. Lights are as required. We're going to put our nav, recognition, and what else? Strobe lights got to come on. We're going to turn on the tail flood because it's getting to be nighttime here. And because it's getting late, we're going to go ahead and hop up top here and turn on the master panel lights if it'll let us. Those are inoperative. Panel flood, bright. Avionics lights, we're going to put those to bright. Instruments lights to bright. Panel lights overhead. And we're not going to use the dome light. We don't need the dome light. So we got all our lights on. They are as required. Cabin temperature and mode switch is as required. It's on auto. Did we flip? Yeah, we flipped it to auto earlier. And let's see, instruments are checked. Brakes will be checked as we get ready to pull out. And that's it until we get to our before run-up checklist. So, give me just a second here to look everything over one time. I will come back to you and then we'll take care of our flight plan real quick. And I want to do it relatively fast, but I don't want to miss anything. So I want to show you what we got going on with that. I will see you here in just a second. Okay, I'm going to try and go through this kind of quick. I want to show you how changing the flight plan and stuff works with this Garmin 1000 here in the KingAir 200. I don't want to take too long on it because I don't want this video to drag out too long. I want to be able to keep your guys' attention. If you'd like to see more detail on it later, please let me know down in the comments. I'd be more than happy to just do a tutorial on the Garmin 1000. But let's just pull this up real quick so we can see it nice and clear. And we'll pop up our little 2D window. This right here is the same thing as, those will go away for a second, as this right here. That's all it is a 2D pop-up of that. So we're going to pull it up nice and bright so we can see what we're doing here. Pull this guy up, and what we're going to do real quick here is we're just going to click on flight plan. And you can see this is our basic flight plan, but it doesn't actually have all the waypoints I want in it. There's a lot of different ways to do this. All I'm going to do right now is put in the departure and the arrival. You can actually do departures with the procedures on this. So when I click on procedure, I'm going to rotate using the outside of the FMS wheel over here. Rotate that down to select departure and press enter. And there's only one departure here at Nogales. So we're going to go ahead and hit enter to select that. And we are going to be taking runway 3 on this one. So we'll click enter, and then our transition is at Tucson. Now how this is going to work out for us, we'll go ahead and hit enter to load that, and you can see it goes ahead and it puts that into the flight plan for us there. Alright. And what did it do? Did it put a little discontinuity? Let's take a look real quick. Flight plan. Okay, so you can see we're going to fly the runway, we're going to intercept, and then at heading 296, and then fly to RV at heading 327, and then to Tucson. And then it shows Tucson on here again. So if we click on this for a cursor, roll that, whoops, wrong wheel there. That happens sometimes. Just click on that again to make it go away. I don't know if I can figure it out here. The inside wheel is what we're looking for. Roll it down, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clear out that. See, those are the same waypoint twice in a row. We don't need them in there twice. Okay, so we'll just clear the second one out of there. Bam, it's gone, just like that. Click flight plan again to close it out and bring it back. And now I want to click procedures again, and I'm going to select my arrival. Same thing, I want to scroll down one to arrival, hit enter, and we are going to be flying the Cooley, which is it? Cooley 4 arrival. Okay, so on the outside of the wheel here, we're going to scroll that down until we find the Cooley 4. And just so you know, we are going to transition. There it is right there. We're going to transition at Tucson, which means as soon as we finish our departure, we're already on our arrival. And we're going to leave it open to all runways. I do happen to know that the wind is all zeros there at Phoenix, where we're headed right now. So what we could do is we could just zoom this out real quick. Oh, it's not going to let us while we're doing this plan here. We'll just leave it open for all runways at the moment, load that in, and then if you hit your flight plan again, you can see Tucson, and it still shows it. Okay, this is the transition now, or this is the arrival. So it's showing Tucson twice in a row, but we don't actually need to remove it on there. We should be good to go on that. I don't actually know what FAP is. We're going to keep an eye on this thing as we're going along, make sure we don't have any major issues with it, all right? But there it is. We can hit the cursor here, and we can scroll down if we want, and just look at it. It's very similar to any other FMC, FMS, as far as, you know, its navigation is a little bit different, but inputting waypoints and stuff like that isn't all that different. I could just click right here, and I could use the mouse wheel here, or I could enter with the buttons down here. It's really pretty simple, and like I said, I'll do a tutorial on that another time if you guys are interested. So let's go ahead and turn the flight plan off. At this point, our flight plan is good to go. We can shrink this guy down. We can get rid of this guy here, and what I want to do is I just want to hop over here real quick and show you a couple other things. First of all, we're going to be flying the GPS. It says we're on GPS. That's good. If we wanted to change that, we click the CDI button. You can see it changes to VOR1, which is nav1. That's nav2, and back to the GPS. So we have to click that CDI button. That's changing our nav source. We're going to be flying via the GPS, so that's going to work good for us. Hopefully we won't have any issues. I think I'm going to have to do some heading hold and stuff to get it to intercept, but we'll deal with that when we get to it. So that's the basics of setting up a flight plan. It's ready to go now. All we got to do is taxi out and take care of business. We are going to change our barometer setting right here, right now. So let me find, there it is right there, and we are going to be at 3010. So let's climb this on up to 30. It's a pretty high setting there, actually. 3010, we're good to go, and we are now ready to taxi out and then do our before takeoff checklist. So once again, I'm just going to take one last look, make sure everything is where it should be, finalize all my before taxi checks here, and then I will come back to you as we start to taxi out. Okay, all of our before taxi items have been taken care of. I just wanted to do a quick check on there. I did look at the video real quick when I paused there, and it took a little bit longer than I intended for that flight plan. I apologize for that. I know this video is going to get just a little long, but we're going to go ahead and taxi out here. I've gone ahead and pushed us back. We actually need to swing around to the right here, so we'll go ahead and do that real quick, and we're basically just making a U-turn to the right. We're going to go down to runway 3. We're going to take care of our before takeoff checklist, and we will be good to go. So I've already turned the taxi lights on, just so you know. So let's take a look here, and much like the Beech 1900, this guy, once those engines spool up, it really likes to go, so we got to watch that. And this is our taxiway here, and one thing I've learned about this, now I'm having a hard time setting it up so that the engine beta mode works properly with my throttle quadrant here. Not sure why that is. That's something I'll have to mess around with and figure out here pretty soon. But basically, the way I understand it now, there's a way to change the settings on this aircraft that lets you really have all of your maintenance issues and stuff like that. And the brakes on the KingAir apparently are notorious for going out. Like, they're really bad. And the issue is, of course, that the brakes are crazy expensive to replace. If I remember correctly, a friend of mine told me it's like 20 grand or something like that to replace the brakes. So when you do your training, your type specific training for a KingAir, one of the things they teach you is how to taxi and use the beta mode to slow down. And obviously I've had some issues with that. The beta mode doesn't seem to work quite the way I want it to, and so I'm having to use the brakes. Now the good news is I don't have those settings turned on where my brakes are going to get all beat up and worn out really fast, so it shouldn't be too big of an issue for me. But I would like to figure out how to get the beta mode to work properly. I do have a registered version of FSUI PC, so if somebody knows what I can do to get that beta mode working properly with my throttles, hey, let me know, because I definitely would like to get that running properly so that we can do proper taxi procedures in this this aircraft. We're just pulling up to the hold short line here. You may remember in the past I told you that when you pull up to hold short line, you're supposed to stop where you can still see the line in front of the aircraft, which for us is going to be right about here. It's a little far back, I know, but that's the proper way to do it, and we're going to try and stick with proper procedures here. So let's just take a look. You can see when I bring my throttle all the way down, that should go into beta mode. They like to hop back up to the idle mode, not sure why, so I try to find that sweet spot in there. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That being said, let's go ahead and jump right into our before takeoff checklist. We need to make sure our auto throttle is armed. Also, during my final checks there before taxi, I made sure that I turned the engine anti-ice on. It's just like in the Beech 1900. For ground operations, you gotta have that anti-ice on. Alright, propeller feathering. We need to check it manually. I've already done that, but we'll do it anyway. This feathers the props. Okay. Now, I don't know if there's some specific indication other than what we see up top there, the little indicator light, but we've manually feathered the props, okay? We've already checked our fuel quantity, we're good to go there. Bleed air valves are supposed to be open. That is these guys right here, and they are open. Annunciator lights are supposed to be extinguished or considered. So we've got the left and right engine anti-ice, and we've got the auto ignition on, and the auto ignition is optional. I do not know why we keep getting this master caution, because I don't have any warning lights. So not sure what the master caution is for. We'll deal with that. The transponder has been checked. The way we do that, I like to pop this 2D up so we can see better. This is your transponder here. We are going to be flying at we're going to be flying this VFR up to 18,000 feet, so it's above 18,000 feet is when you have to be IFR. I'm just going to leave it on the VFR code, but if you click on transponder and then click on code, you can manually type in the code here. Alright, so bring that back, and we're good to go. Ice protection we don't need. Engine auto ignition, it says as required. We're going to go ahead and use it. PFD altitude and heading normal. They are indeed. We're right where we should be. I've checked our heading. We're looking good. Everything's working the way it's supposed to. One thing that's not on here that I want to go ahead and do is we're going to set our altitude by using the altitude select knob here, and you'll see it change right here on the screen. We're going to go up to 18,000 feet. That's way too high. There's 18.5, and then this bottom side here, so thousands, hundreds, bring it down to 18,000. Bam, there we go. We're good to go on that. Yaw damper won't come on until we're airborne. GPS position is valid. Standby altitude indicator is erect and normal, which it is right there. We don't have a glide slope or a localizer. That's what these two flags are. And that's it. That's our before takeoff checklist. It does not mention landing lights for some reason, so let's go ahead and turn the landing lights on. Those are on and good to go, and everything is as it should be. Now there is a run-up procedure you do on this, and I didn't do that on the video because it is quite extensive and the video is already kind of long. So if you want a more in-depth tutorial on the procedures for the KingAir 200, please post something down in the comments. I'd be more than happy to put together a couple tutorials that cover the specific procedures, such as how to use the G1000 and also doing things like the run-up and stuff like that. Our flaps are already set. Our propellers are in the forward position. Basically, the only thing left to do is to check the approach path to the runway, make sure we don't see any aircraft coming, which we don't. Check the other side just in case, because sometimes they'll land from the other direction, especially the FSX AI. There's nobody coming there, so we're good to go. We're going to go ahead and taxi out onto the runway here, and we're going to get airborne, and we'll be making a left turn, looks like almost immediately, so let's just be prepared for that. Bring those parking brakes off, and let's go ahead and advance those throttles and get onto the runway here. And I'm going to do a rolling takeoff. So the auto feather annunciators should illuminate, ignition on annunciators should extinguish, and we just want to check our airspeed and stuff like that. We're going to rotate it about 94 knots, and I have to use the brakes here. We use a little bit of differential, and I'm pushing them lightly. I'm not pushing them hard because I know those brakes will wear out easy. So let's just line her up and let's go throttle up here. Now, I don't really go full throttle on this because the torque right here will go too high really quick. So, and there's a little pull to the left there. We're just watching, we're looking for about 92 knots. Okay, coming up on 80 knots. Good. There's 90, and we're above 92, so we can rotate. Pull back nice and gentle. We're airborne at this point. We have a positive rate. Gear is coming up. Better be coming up. Oh, come on. Oh, climbing a little fast there. Come on.
Gear up.
Okay, gears up at this point. We're looking good there. Let's go ahead and make this left turn first. My flaps are still down. That's okay. And as I'm making this left turn, I'm going to put on the flight director. I'm going to put on the yaw damper. I'm going to arm the nav. Flip on the autopilot and see if she takes control. Yep, she is taking control already. And let's see here. Our altitude is set. Let's go ahead and we've got altitude. Let's change our vertical speed here. Bring that down. It is definitely too high. Bring it down to 1,000 feet per minute. I like that. Now we'll arm altitude. Oh, it's not going to let us do that. Okay. So, vertical speed. You see, I'm still learning a little bit of this aircraft. Bring it back down to 1,000. We're good on our speed. I'm going to go ahead and bring those flaps up now. And you can see it's already starting to fly our course here. And it will intercept this line right here, and it's going to fly the departure here. It's going to fly out to the first waypoint. If we want, we can pop this guy up. We can change that range a little bit. Zoom it out. Where are we at here? Okay, there's that RV waypoint, and then Tucson's going to be right up here. Okay, and then from Tucson, that's direct. That little white line is direct to Phoenix, and that is our coulee for arrival. So it's going to go to the left onto that arrival procedure there. So we're looking good on that. Now we want to go ahead. Let's do our after takeoff checklist. Landing gear is up, flaps are up, yaw damper is on. Climb power, we want to go ahead and set that. So let's go ahead and roll these back just a little bit, and more than anything, we want to get our prop RPM around 1800. Here, come back now. Also, our synchrophaser or prop sync needs to come on. So that's coming on now, and that's going to help make sure that the props stay relatively close together. We need to bring those back just a little bit more. Get down around 1800. Come on back. There we go. And we're looking pretty good right here. Getting down to about 1800. Just watching those prop RPMs real quick. This is part of our climb checklist. And we're getting close, pretty good there. Auto feather needs to come off at this point, so let's go ahead and pop the auto feathers off. That is these guys, and we'll go ahead and take the left and right engine anti-ice off as well. Engine instruments we're going to be monitoring, obviously. Taxi and landing lights come off. Actually, the taxi lights come off, but for our purposes, the proper procedures are to fly up to 10,000 feet with the landing lights on. So we're going to go ahead and leave landing lights on for now until we cross 10,000 feet. And let's see, we need to come up. I want to increase that rate of climb just a little bit. We'll keep an eye on it though. And cabin signs as required. We can go ahead and just switch it to, well, we'll leave it right where it's at. Actually, I'm fine with it. Cabin pressurization is good. Aft blower needs to be off. It already is. We never turned it on. And that's it. That is our after takeoff checklist. We are good to go. We don't have much to do until we get to 10,000 feet. We'll turn off those landing lights, and then when we get to 18,000 feet, we'll go to a standard altimeter setting of 29902. That's it for the moment. You see why we had to make that left turn pretty quick, get away from those mountains, because we're not quite over the top of them yet. Crossing 9,000 feet right now. And I'll keep you here with me just until we get beyond 10,000 feet. We'll turn the landing lights off, and then I'll take it all the way on up to 18,000, and I will be seeing you again when we get closer to the top of the descent. That's the down and dirty, really, for the KingAir 200. As you can see, beautifully modeled airplane. We can go ahead and flip our yokes back on. Other than needing the landing lights, we're good to go for now. And I like to have those on there. I forget to do that a lot in the 1900. We are on vertical speed mode, but because we've put in an altitude here, it will intercept it. There we are crossing 10,000 feet. Landing lights can come off now. When we cross 10,200. Wait for it. No, maybe not. I lied to you.
Passing 10,000 feet.
There it is. He waited until we got to 10,400. But that's just our first officer letting us know that we passed 10,000 feet. Remember, for the purposes of our A cars for Phoenix Virtual Airways, if we cross 10,000 feet going up or down and fail to change the setting on the landing lights, whether it be turning them off as we climb past 10,000 feet or turning them on as we descend through 10,000 feet, that's a warning for our PIRAP. It's not reason for it's not reason for a rejection of the pilot report, but it does put a warning on there. So I just like to try to remember to do my landing lights. So I'm going to take it on up to cruise altitude. When we get up there, I'll hop back on here with you for a minute and I will show you the cruise checklist and we will go forward from there. So I'll see you here in a couple of minutes. Okay, so we're just settling into our cruise altitude here. As you can see, just a shade over 18,000 coming back down. I didn't make any settings or adjustments, just using the vertical speed and having set the altitude into the autopilot system. It intercepted 18,000 feet and there we go. So let's see, what do we got to do here? We got to do our cruise checklist real quick. So let's take a quick look at that. There's not a lot to do. We want to set our cruise power, and it says to set it in accordance with the cruise power tables. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, I don't have those tables in front of me. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set my cruise for the speed that I want. Right now, I'm just going to let that speed climb for a little while, but when we get around 220, that's probably where I'm going to start settling it down. I've noticed that my frame rates have dropped just a skosh here. Not really sure why. I'm probably going to have to play with my settings a little later, but overall, we're still looking pretty good. Probably has to do with the clouds. I like to have a high setting on clouds. I know. Probably shouldn't do that, but it is what it is. So, what else we got here? Engine instruments we're going to monitor, and we need to monitor the auxiliary fuel gauge to ensure that the fuel is being transferred from the auxiliary tanks. And so basically, if we had fuel in the auxiliary tanks, we would want to be monitoring that at the moment to make sure that it's decreasing. That's really for much longer flights. This is not a very long flight. We don't have any fuel in there. And that's it. That is our cruise checklist. You can see we're up over the mountains here. Not sure which mountains those are, to be honest with you. There's several pretty cool mountain ranges out here. We have already crossed the Tucson VOR, and it looks like it looks like it's not actually following our assigned arrival, is it? Let's zoom out a little bit, so you can see. Actually, that's zooming in. No wonder it's. So we should be going to hot, but we're not. Should be going to hot, but we're not. So what we need to do is we need to take a look at our flight plan here, and that's this guy right here. This is the problem. So what we need to do is we need to go ahead and just highlight this. Whoops, wrong one again. Do that. Come on. It's the inside one. There we go. So let's go ahead and let's clear this off. Let's clear this off. Yeah. Okay. So let's go direct to hot. That is where we need to go, right? Yep. HOTT. So let's go HOTT. And that's not going to work for us. So something not right with that there. Maybe it's in the procedures. Select approach. Maybe it's because we haven't selected an approach yet. So let's select an approach. We can do runway. We'll do RNAV 25 left. That'll work fine. Vectors, load, and procedure. We've already selected our arrival, right? Isn't this fun trying to figure this out? And all it does is let us load it, so not really sure why it's not activating that there. I'm going to mess around with it for a few minutes, guys, see if I can figure it out. If I don't, then we'll just fly it straight on up to Phoenix and go from there. But yeah, let me play around with it for a few minutes. I'm sure you don't want to see me mess with it on the screen. If I find a solution, I will certainly give it to you. But otherwise, that is our cruise checklist for the moment. And I will see you just before top of descent. Well, I've just been having buckets of fun here. You guys missed out on all the excitement. My flight sim crashed like 8 stinking times in a row. Still not sure why. I think I got it running now. I'm gonna try and finish out this flight for you guys so we can get this video up and running. But yeah, not really sure what's going on, but we're getting close to top of descent here. So there goes my phone dinging in the background. It's a buddy of mine texting me trying to help me figure out why my flight sim's going kaput. But okay, so we're near top of descent. Let's just go ahead and jump right into that. We've taken care of the cabin pressurization control, and our altimeter is set. It is to 902 standard, and that is what it is in Phoenix today, interestingly enough. We don't need windshield anti-ice. Power will be as required for the descent, and then we'll go into the approach checklist. So let's go ahead and start our descent now. Our altitude is going to come down to what are we going to here? 2,500. So let's go ahead and vertical speed on down. 1,500 feet per minute. We're going to have to back those throttles off now. Don't forget, we don't want to go too fast. So let's go ahead and bring the throttles back nice and easy. And there goes my phone again. Sorry about that. Normally I put it on silent, but my friend's trying to help me figure out the issue. Looks like it might be that UI automation or DLL thing. Well, there's our away from keyboard check. So let's acknowledge that real quick. You guys haven't had a chance to see this yet. I hope this is showing up on the screen. If not, I have a little screen right here in front of me that gives me the current frequency of my COM2, as well as the frequency I need to put into my COM2. And I can also enter it right on this, what do you call it here, right on this little screen. So if you look right here, the current COM2 frequency is 127.80, and I need to put it to 126.80. So I'm going to type it in here. And if you can't see this, if you can't see the little window up here, just keep an eye right here. You'll see that's going to change here in a second. And it says it's acknowledged. Did it put it in there? Let's unpause. You notice, remember I said now I have mine set to pause on AFK. So if I wasn't sitting here right now and it paused, no time has elapsed. See, total AFK time 0000. So we haven't lost any time. We just unpause our sim now. And it doesn't look like it actually physically changed it within here. That's the COM2, and it didn't change anything, so unless it changed it on this side over here. No, it stayed the same, so I'm not really sure why that went about that way, but it is what it is. So we're on descent now. We are, let's see, how far out are we here? Where's distance next week? There we are, 38 miles. Oh, we're descending too fast. Let's go ahead and bring that up a little bit. Let's bring up to 1,000 feet per minute. That'll slow us down a little, so we go ahead and throw a little bit of power back in there. And we'll just continue on our descent here. Not much else to do. We've done our descent checklist. We're not too far out. We can do our approach checklist now if we want. We'll be checking our pressurization. Cabin signs haven't changed yet. Let's just double check and make sure all our lights are on in here. They are. It is starting to get dark outside. And once we get below 10,000 feet, of course, we'll need our landing lights on. We'll be arming the auto feather. We can go ahead and do that right now. It's a little far out, but that's okay. We're going to arm the auto feather. Landing gear, flaps, and all that will come at that point in time. And once we turn on the final, we'll try to remember to turn the prop sync off as well. The prop sync phaser comes off before approach as well. So that's pretty much it right now. We're on descent. And I'm going to just keep on trucking forward here. We are looking for this waypoint right here, which is 34 miles ahead of us. So when we get much closer to that point, I'll go ahead and hop back on here with you, and you can fly the approach with me. So I'll see you in a minute. Okay, as you can see, we are on final approach here. We're just about to bring in full flaps. We're going to be landing at around 120 knots. There's our full flaps right there. Landing is assured. Just bringing a little bit of power. We want to make sure that our prop sync is off at this point. And everything else, everything's good to go. Yaw damper comes off. And I think that's it. Just a skosh low there. That's alright. So let's bring that power back a little and nose it up just a bit because we're definitely descending too fast. Should be at about 600 feet per minute. So yeah, all kinds of issues. Not really sure what's going on, but I am certain we're going to figure it out. That's just an altitude alert. Descending a little quick there still, just bringing a little trim. And I think I told you before, the water is not actually there. it's a dry riverbed. So yeah, that is what it is, right? Yeah, I'm thinking about getting the Phoenix Payware Airport. It is a beautifully done airport. There is, of course, question of whether or not I'll fly in here a lot. But you know, I broke down recently. I know I said before I wasn't real big on Payware airports because I don't typically fly. You know, I don't fly to the same airport a lot very often. But there was a Payware for San Diego and John Wayne Airport were on sale super cheap this weekend, and I'm going to be flying there soon. We will be flying there soon. And so I broke down and I went ahead and I bought them. And let me tell you, they're beautiful, and they really made me kind of rethink my thought process on Payware airports. So yeah, we will probably be seeing Phoenix Payware here pretty soon. So got just a little high there. I saw it coming and backed off the throttle a little bit, so that's increased our rate of descent just a bit. We're doing all right. We got plenty of runway. I'm gonna try not to float it. So let's just listen to our call outs now.
100, 50, 40, 30, 20, 20, 10.
Floated a little there. Really trying not to do that, but the 10-foot call out is coming early, and look how far we floated here. We're still in the air. Come on, settle down. I'm gonna run out of runway. Ugh, that was terrible. Man, my landings are just atrocious lately. Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, small airplane, we managed to slow down, but wow. Oh, let's see here. Landing lights are on, we can turn those off now. Ground operations, we want the engine anti-ice to be on. Let's taxi this thing over here. It is a mirror flight, so they do tend to park down at the end here. So we'll just cross over 25 right and park this bad Larry. I apologize for a couple of the issues with this flight. It has been just kind of crazy all over the place. Like I said, had several sim crashes. Hopefully we'll have that sorted out soon. Just all in all, for me, this was a pretty crappy flight, actually, and that sucks because I love this airplane. Not the best landing. It was smooth enough, but man, we floated most of the way down the runway. That 10-foot call out is clearly coming too high. I'm not sure if that's using the altimeter to make its calls or what, but yeah, it's not calling out when it should be. I can assure you of that. So yeah, I'm gonna have to sort out a few of those issues, but I really wanted to put this video together for you guys. And you know, if you're watching this, you're probably a flight sim guy anyway, and I am quite confident that you are fully aware of the issues associated with FSX, and they are plentiful. There's no doubt about it. I've been contemplating X-Plane or P3D. Not really sure if I want to go over to either one of those, at least not at the moment. X-Plane, of course, has the advantage of being 64-bit, where FSX and P3D are both still 32. So at the moment I'm sticking with what I got. I do have a lot of payware for this thing, basically a lot of money invested in it, and I'm just not too sure I'm ready to cough all that up yet. So we're gonna see if we can hash out the issues. We got the new PC. She's been running fantastic. It's the first time I've had any real problems. So you know, let's see if we can get it figured out, and hopefully.
Traffic.
Yeah. Okay. Now you tell me there's traffic. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw our parking brakes on here, and let's do our after landing checklist real quick so we can hop out of this airplane and get it all figured out. We did our after landing. Actually, taxi lights came off. We didn't have ice protection. Engine auto ignition can come off. We already had it off, so it's not a big deal. Trim is good. Flaps need to come up. I hadn't done that yet. Parking brakes set. Avionics master switch comes off. Auto feather switch comes off. Light switches all need to come off with the exception of the beacon. And we'll leave the light switches inside the aircraft on. But the external lights are off. Cabin temp mode needs to be off. That's this one right here, and well, at one point we had it on, now it's off, so I'm not really sure why that happened, probably from restarting the sim. Vent blowers on auto, that is, where you at? Vent blowers, these guys right here, vent blower, radiant heat is off, batteries charged, condition levers need to go to cutoff now, let's go ahead and move those, that's one, that's two, engines are coming down, propellers go to the feathered mode, and that actually allows a lock to set in place for the propeller pitch for when you start the engine, and I'll explain that another time if you're interested. Just let me know down in the comments. Battery and generator switches come off, so right gen, left gen off, battery off. Wheel chocks, we'll install those when we get out, tie it down, and that is it. Quite the adventure on this flight here, folks. Absolutely love this airplane, and I've got to be honest, I'm a little sad at how terribly this flight went. So hopefully we'll get the bugs hashed out, and on our next flight, things will go a little smoother. And you can see I parked a little short there. Let's hop over to ACARS, shut things down over there real quick. Matter of fact, I think I'm just going to do ACARS myself. You guys have seen it several times. And I'm just going to wrap this one up right here. I don't think we're going to do a website closeout. If you guys prefer to continue to see those, let me know. I'm going to stop doing them for the next few videos, and I'll await comments on you guys to see if you'd like to see that closeout or what. So that wraps it up for this flight then. This was, what, our 7th flight, barring the elusive episode 6th flight, which I haven't posted up here. But this one was not so glorious. But I'm glad you guys joined me. I'm glad you were along for the ride. If you're interested in knowing any of the problems I had, or you know, what I did to fix things along the way, please let me know down in the comments. I'd be more than happy to share that with you. As always, I do appreciate a thumbs up on the video, and please subscribe to my channel so that we can get more of these videos up here. Hope you all have a fantastic day, and I will see you next time we're up in the skies.